Do you have milk coming out your nose?
I think so. It was close to that.
So we recently went down to the Curve Theatre in Leicester, and we saw a play called
Peter Pan Goes Wrong.
Yeah, and the interesting thing was, now you've never seen the original proper Peter Pan performed on stage, and I don't think you've read the novel all the way through. I think we've read kind of like children's versions of it that were even more reduced for young readers. And I know you've seen several different movie versions of Peter Pan, so you knew the story. But I did think it was interesting that this was your first time seeing the play Peter Pan, but it wasn't actually the proper old-fashioned, the way it was performed more than 100 years ago. So I wondered if you would understand everything that was going on, but it seemed like you really did. Well, we should probably start by explaining what Peter Pan Goes Wrong is. It's put on by a company called Mischief Theatre, who kind of take plays and mess with them.
Peter Pan Goes Wrong is basically, imagine the theatre play Peter Pan and everything goes wrong, like Captain Hook's hook is on the right, is on the left hand instead of the right, Peter Pan can't fly, things like that, and that's just what the play was.
Mm-hmm. So it really is more of a comedy show. They can take all kinds of things. They've done murder mysteries, they've done sort of soap opera style productions, and then I believe this is the first time that they've taken something based on children's literature, and I think it was a really good choice because everybody pretty much knows the story of Peter Pan. Whether or not you've read the novel, it's something that's so in our culture that you're going to be aware of the basic characters in the plot. You know who Peter and Wendy and John and Michael and Tinkerbell and the Lost Boys and Captain Hook and Mr. Smee, we all know these characters. And so they were able to take this play and have everything go wrong. So even there were actors playing stagehands who are trying to deal with, say, like the rigging goes wrong when people are trying to fly, or parts of the set will suddenly fall apart. And the most impressive part of the performance is these actors are playing actors playing parts, and they have to react in a way where it really seems like they're scared or surprised or frustrated when everything's going wrong. And that's actually much more difficult to do than if you're just playing a straight dramatic role. We had a really great time at the theater, but I'm curious to know, what was your favorite technical aspect of the performance? So not the acting, not the story, but like anything to do with the equipment or the stagecraft. What was your favorite thing?
I really liked it when so on the stage there was a triple bunk bed, and Wendy went on the top, Michael went on the bottom, and John went in the middle. And when Wendy climbed into the bed, her bunk slid down onto John's, and then when she climbed on it again, John's bunk slid down onto Michael's.
And they were pretending to be crushed underneath. It was an amazing piece of stagecraft. And the fact that they're able to do this safely, and then the actors still look like they're terrified, because there's the triple bunk bed, and then Wendy climbs on and it goes kerthunk. So it looks like it's broken. I mean, in fact, they've designed it to do this, but then you see the arms and legs flailing. I've spilled my tea.
Well, that went wrong.
Hey, that's very appropriate. Very, very appropriate. But yeah, it was
Well done.
Thank you. It was a very impressive piece of stagecraft. I think for me, the flying rigging was very impressive, because you had people flying with, the hooks holding them up. But of course they had to have everything go wrong. So they're flipping upside down, they're kind of twirling. And it would be very easy to do that in a way where it was clear that they were acting, that they were faking. They genuinely looked out of control. They really looked terrified.
They were like knocking down the set. And like
smacking their heads on things, and it really looked like they got hurt.
By the end of the theater, there were 2 people with their heads in bandages and 1 person with a leg cast on.
And she was in a wheelchair by the end, right?
Yeah.
So It also helped that the stage was on a turntable, which rotated, which normally in a well-conducted play, that can be really amazing because you can have like the set rotate and it really creates this seamless transition between scenes. But by the end, it was malfunctioning and just going around really fast. And yet the actors were able to move through the parts of the set to stay in frame. Or sometimes there'd be one stuck in a spot and then every time they came around, you'd see something different. We don't want to spoil too much, but that was a pretty impressive part at the end, wasn't it?
I really liked it when the actor playing Tinkerbell, the maid, the mother, and
She was
and somebody else.
She did a bunch of parts.
She had this roll of safety tape around her arm, and it was attached to one side of the set, and it was just as it went around.
Which part of the story was your favorite?
I loved it when Captain Hook couldn't open up the poison bottle. So he asked a little girl of 5 to open it up for her. Him. And she opened it and everyone was like, "Don't do it." And she was like, "I'm just gonna do it." And then
when Tinkerbell got poisoned?
Yeah, Captain Hook blamed the poor little girl sitting in the second row.
That was a really funny part of the story because it's an important part of the story from the original book and play where Peter Pan does sneak into the underground house and he poisons Peter's medicine and then Tinkerbell drinks it. So yeah, he was saying, "Well, don't blame me. It's her fault." And we were all laughing really hard. It was funny watching him too because he was trying to get the lid off the bottle with his hook. And then someone in the crowd yelled, "Do you need a hand?" It was really funny. There's some excellent heckling with Captain Hook because the way they'd written it was that so the character playing Captain Hook in the play is very, very serious that this is a dramatic production of Peter Pan and this is not a pantomime. And then some of the actors were like, "Oh, yes, it is." And so you'd get that back and forth and the heckling with the audience. And so anytime someone did something that was like a pantomime where you yell things at the characters on stage or you go, "Oh, no, it's not. Oh, yes, it is," the Captain Hook character would get really, really angry, wouldn't he? And it was so funny. He was very, very convincing as someone who's completely fed up with the unruly audience.
He kept, like, shouting, like he was like, "This is not a pantomime. It is a very serious theater production."
It was really good.
What was your favorite part of the story?
So I really liked the part where Tinkerbell needs to be brought back to life. I wondered if they were going to be able to do something like that because it's actually, I think, the most important part of the original stage play. Tinkerbell drinks Peter's medicine, and in the stage play, she's played by a light and some jingling bells off stage. And so the light flickers and fades, and Peter turns to the audience and says, "Will you help her? Will you help her? Children, please clap your hands. If you clap your hands and say you believe in fairies, maybe we can save her." And it's this amazing piece of theater. I hope you get the chance to do this one day because it's magical. You just get goosebumps and chills when it happens. And you clap your hands and everyone says, "I believe in fairies. I believe in fairies." So the way they did this in the play, I don't want to spoil it too much, but they did manage to do that with the character of Tinkerbell where they're not sure if she's okay or not. And they don't know what to do because someone goes like, "Well, which member of the cast is the first aid officer?" And they're like, it's her. She's the first aid officer." And they're like, "Oh, what do we do?" So one of the cast members just goes, "I believe in fairies. I believe in fairies." And we all clapped along and then she said, "Okay."
That was the person who had her leg in a cast. And then one of the cast members was like, "Not now. We have a very serious medical problem." And then...
But it worked.
Yes.
It worked. It was great. So we've talked about the technical parts of the play and the story parts of the play. What part made you laugh the hardest?
When... let's see.
I know, there was so much laughing, right? It's hard to pick one. Oh, that was a lot of tea.
Well, that went wrong as well. Probably...
Was it when you saw the stagehands bottom?
So when the actor got hurt playing Peter Pan, one of the stagehands had to take his place, and he had this, like, heavy Scottish accent. He was very grumpy. He was like, I don't want to be Peter Pan. I just don't.
But the show had to go on, huh?
And he had, like, the black book of the script, and he was, like, reading also the instructions of what, like, to do, like...
Oh, yeah, he was reading the stage directions as well as the lines.
There was an error in it that said, I think it was, like, Peter Pan falls and bumps his head or something.
And then he said, no, he doesn't! No, he doesn't!
He was like, no. Peter Pan does not fall and bump his head. It was super funny.
It was very funny. The actor who played the stagehand was amazing because he was really convincing. You actually believed he was just a stagehand at first, and then you realize, oh, he's doing an amazing job because he's playing this really frustrated stagehand who's had to step in because one of the actors gets hurt. So I think in terms of performance, he was absolutely just star of the show. Though I have to also say I really admired the actress who played the mother, the maid, Tinkerbell, one of the Lost Boys. She had to do these really, really quick changes, stepping through a door, stepping in and out, and it was very funny.
At one point, she was like, "I'll go get the maid," and like she stepped out, and like 2 seconds later, she stepped out again and was in a completely different outfit. At first, I thought she was like a triplet or something.
She would convince you of that. So who's this play good for? I would say older children, kind of 9 or 10 and up, because there are a few moments of mild language, nothing too bad, but, things that you don't necessarily want a 4-year-old repeating. I think also if you brought a really small child to the theater, it would just be too long for them to sit through. They also would not understand what was happening when the actors get hurt or when things go wrong, when the stage is falling apart. A younger child might take it seriously and actually be pretty distressed by it, huh?
Make sure you get there early because the show starts before the show. Like, there's technical problems and stuff. Like, the stagehands keep moving the toy train and it ends up underneath someone's foot. You guessed that it would end up underneath someone's foot.
Yes, I predicted.
Credit to her.
All right.
And then... there's like when the electric things won't go on, a huge long like what is it called again?
A power cable.
A power cable is like sent through the crowd all the way to the back, and then he's like, okay, bring it down now, quick, we've got a show to start. And obviously it starts late because it goes wrong. Yeah,
and I got Peter Pan's autograph. The actor playing Peter Pan was like wandering around like he was all cool. Sunglasses. He had his collar popped and he grabbed my program and just signed it and was like, here you go, you're welcome, and walked away. So make sure you get there early because there's a lot of really fun shenanigans that go on before the show gets started.
I think he won't accept no autographs. He'll be like...
like, you're getting an autograph. You don't need to ask. You're just getting one because you want it. So anyway, would you recommend this play to others?
Absolutely. Just hands.
What I appreciated most about Peter Pan Goes Wrong is that it shows how a classic work of children's literature never goes out of style, and that if you're creative about the way you approach it, you can breathe new life into it and do fun new things that keep it fresh and fun. The main reason this play worked is because we already knew the plot, we already knew the stories, and so poking a little fun at this beloved classic where we're all in on the joke and we're all enjoying ourselves, it was just, I can't say enough good things about it. It was a lot of fun. One thing that does come to mind though, and this is just kind of a subtle cultural difference between Britain and America. In Britain, they are more comfortable with like silly displays of nudity. Now, there's no nudity in the show as such, but there is a part where you do see the actors in their underwear. And I mean, they're more covered than in a bathing suit. You'd go to a family swimming pool and you'd see bathing suits that were smaller than what the actors had on. But that might not necessarily happen in an American production. And then also when one of the actors goes up on the rigging, you do see kind of like his pants are pulled in a way where you kind of see just a little bit of the plumber's region, as we'll put it. Again, nothing that I would consider by British standards not risque at all, but it is possible that in some areas of the US that might be considered a bit much. So if you're an American in Britain and you come to see it, or if you see a video production, just a heads up, there is that difference, but it's nothing that's out of line at all with what happens in British pantomimes and British theatre.
Have you seen Peter Pan Goes Wrong? Tell us what you think. We'd love to hear from you.
So should we go to the theatre again?
Yeah.
Well, that's good, because Daddy's bought us tickets to go see Jemima Puddle Duck at Bradgate Park this summer. Yeah! So, next trip to the theatre?
Yeah. I've ran out of milk.